彼はなぜあなたを無視するのでしょうか？表面的には強さに見えるその行動の裏に、実は深い弱さが隠されているかもしれません。静かな雨の夜、メッセージを送っても返信がない画面を見つめる。あなたは自問します。なぜ彼は私を無視するのだろう。その沈黙の背後には、彼自身も気づいていない心理的な真実が隠されているのかもしれません。今日は心理学の巨匠カール・グスタフ・ユングの洞察を通じて、あなたを無視する男性の内面に光を当てていきます。男性が他者を無視するとき、彼は実は自分自身の一部を無視している。ユングのこの深遠な洞察は、表面的な行動の背後にある無意識のダイナミクスを明らかにしています。あなたは単に無視されているのではなく、彼の内的葛藤の投影を受けているのかもしれません。日本には、本音と建前という概念があります。表向きの理由と、心の奥底にある本当の感情の違いを表す言葉です。男性があなたを無視するとき、その建前は強さや無関心を装うことかもしれませんが、本音はしばしば恐れや不安、そして深い弱さなのです。無視することは、直面することより多くのエネルギーを消費する。これはユングの逆説的な心理です。沈黙や距離を保つことは、一見簡単に見えますが、実際には心の中で継続的な抑圧と内的葛藤が起きています。それは自然な感情の流れをせき止める堤防のようなものであり、維持するためには膨大な心理的エネルギーが必要なのです。ユングは、影、シャドウという概念を提唱しました。これは私たちが認めたくない、抑圧された側面です。男性があなたを無視するとき、彼は自分の影、脆弱性、感情的な依存、拒絶への恐れと向き合うことを避けているのかもしれません。強さの仮面の下に隠された、最も深い弱さがあるのです。松の木は風に折れないために、しなやかさを持つ、という日本の知恵があります。しかし、感情的な柔軟性を欠いた男性は、折れないために、無視する、という硬直した防御メカニズムに頼るのです。それは強さではなく、むしろ真の強さ、自分の感情と向き合い、それを表現する勇気の欠如なのです。男性が無視という行動をとるとき、彼は自分の内なる女性性、アニマを抑圧している。ユングによれば、すべての男性の心の中には、アニマと呼ばれる女性的側面が存在します。この内なる女性性は感情、直感、関係性への感受性を司ります。しかし、多くの男性はこの側面を弱さとみなし、抑圧するのです。その結果、実際の女性との健全な感情的つながりも難しくなります。ユングはペルソナという概念を提唱しました。これは私たちが社会に向けて示す仮面や社会的顔のことです。多くの男性は強く感情的に独立し、弱さを見せないというペルソナを身につけています。あなたを無視する行動は、このペルソナを維持するための防衛規制かもしれません。彼は本当の自分、感情的で傷つきやすく、あなたを必要としている自分を隠しているのです。男性の最大の恐怖の一つは、自分のコントロールを失うことだ。ユングのこの洞察は、無視という行動の核心に迫ります。感情を抱くということは、ある意味でコントロールを手放すことです。特に強い感情は私たちを脆弱にし、予測不可能な領域へと導きます。無視することは、この不確かさと脆弱性から身を守る試みなのです。日本の武士道には、不動心、動じない心という理想がありますね。しかし、この理想が歪められると、感情の抑圧や関係性からの撤退につながることがあります。真の不動心とは感情がないことではなく、感情の中にあっても中心を保つ能力です。あなたを無視する男性は、この微妙な違いを理解していないのかもしれません。男性が無視という行動をとるとき、彼は心理的投影を行っている。投影とは、自分の内的な問題や葛藤を他者に転嫁することです。 彼があなたを無視するとき、実は彼自身の内的な部分、しばしば、価値がない、愛されるに値しない、と感じている部分をあなたに投影しているのかもしれません。あなたではなく、彼自身の一部を拒絶しているのです。ユングは個性化というプロセスを重視しました。これは自分の全体性、光も影も含めた全体を受け入れる旅です。無視するという行動は、この個性化の旅を避ける試みかもしれません。感情、脆弱性、依存といった側面を統合するのではなく、それらを切り離し、抑圧しようとしているのです。竹は空洞だからこそ、強いという東洋の知恵があります。同様に、真の強さは自分の空虚さや不完全さを認める勇気から生まれます。無視という行動は、しばしばこの内的な空虚さと向き合うことへの恐れから生じるのです。彼は自分の内側の空白を埋めるために、あなたとの真のつながりが必要なのかもしれません。しかし、その必要性自体を認めることを恐れているのです。男性の無意識は、彼の意識的な態度とは逆のものを求める。これはユングの保証の法則です。表面的にあなたを無視し、感情的に切り離されているように見える男性は、無意識のレベルでは深いつながりと親密さを渇望しているかもしれません。しかし、この欲求を認めることは、彼の自己イメージや男性性の概念を脅かすのです。沈黙の仮面の下には、語られない物語がある。無視という行動の背後には、しばしば過去のトラウマや傷つき体験があります。かつて感情を表現して傷ついた経験、拒絶された痛み、または愛着の問題が現在の防衛的な行動パターンの根源となっているのかもしれません。彼の沈黙は、実は癒されていない内なる子供の叫びなのです。男性が無視するとき、彼は、闘争凍結反応の凍結モードにいる。これは進化的に古い防衛メカニズムで、脅威を感じたときに活性化します。感情的な親密さや脆弱性が脅威として認識されると、彼の神経系は凍結モードに入り、感情的、心理的に撤退するのです。これは意識的な選択というよりも、本能的な防衛反応なのです。日本のの概念物事の間の空間は、関係性の動態を理解する鍵となります。しかし、健全なと不健全な距離には違いがあります。健全なは双方を尊重し、関係性に呼吸の余地を与えます。一方、無視による距離は一方的で、関係性を窒息させます。それはではなく、逃避なのです。ユングはアニムスとアニマ男性の中の女性的側面と女性の中の男性的側面について語りました。男性があなたを無視するとき、それは彼のアニマの発達が未熟であることを示している可能性があります。彼は自分の感情的、直感的側面との健全な関係を築けておらず、それゆえ外部の女性との健全な関係も難しいのです。無視は力ではなく、恐怖の表れである。真の強さは、自分の感情と向き合い、それを適切に表現する能力から来ます。無視するという行動は、この能力の欠如を示しています。それは強さの証ではなく、むしろ感情的な未熟さと自己認識の不足の証なのです。ユングは内向型と外向型という心理的傾向について語りました。内向型の人々は内的世界に意識を向け、社会的交流にはより多くのエネルギーを必要とします。彼があなたを無視しているように見える場合、それは単に彼が内向型であり、自分のエネルギーを管理するために時間と空間が必要なだけかもしれません。しかし、健全な内向性は無視ではなく、むしろ自分のニーズを明確に伝えることを含みます。桜の花が散るように、すべての関係性には自然なリズムがある。しかし、無視という行動はこの自然なリズムを妨げます。それは関係性の自然な流れをせき止め、真の親密さの発展を阻害するのです。健全な関係性は、近づきと離れの自然なダンスを含みますが、 それは常に相互の尊重と明確なコミュニケーションに基づいています。ユングは原型という概念を提唱しました。これは集合まと無意識に存在する普遍的なイメージやパターンです。男性があなたを無視するとき、彼は無意識のうちに孤独な英雄や感情を持たない戦士といった原型に同一化しているのかもしれません。これらの原型は強さと独立を象徴していますが、同時に真の親密さへの障壁ともなるのです。水面に映る月をつかもうとするように、無視という行動はしばしば自分自身から逃げる試みです。彼は自分の感情や欲求と向き合うのではなく、それらから逃れようとしています。しかし、禅の教えが示すように、私たちは自分自身から永遠に逃げ続けることはできません。いつか彼は自分の内なる真実と向き合う必要があるのです。ユングは心理的インフレーションという現象について語りました。これは自我が過度に膨張し、自分を実際以上に重要または強力だと感じる状態です。あなたを無視する男性は、この心理的インフレーションの状態にあるかもしれません。自分は感情的に自足していると思い込み、他者を必要としないと錯覚しているのです。しかし、これは幻想であり、すべての人間はつながりを必要としています。無視する男性の最大の弱点は、自己認識の欠如である。ユングにとって、自己認識は個性化の旅の核心でした。自分の感情、欲求、恐れを認識し、受け入れる能力がなければ、真の成長は不可能です。無視という行動は、この自己認識の欠如を示しています。彼は自分自身の真実から逃げているのです。日本のわびさびの美学、不完全さ、無常、不完全さの中に美を見出す考えは、人間関係における重要な知恵を提供します。完璧な関係性や完璧な自己像を求める代わりに、私たちの傷や欠点を受け入れることで、より深いつながりが生まれるのです。無視する男性は、この傷の美学を理解していないのかもしれません。男性が無視するとき、彼は仮面の舞踏会に参加している。ユングは私たちが様々な仮面、ペルソナを付け替えることを指摘しました。無視という行動は、しばしば、私は傷つかない、私は誰も必要としない、という仮面の表現です。しかし、仮面の下では、彼は恐れ、不安、そして深い孤独を感じているのかもしれません。ユングは、心理的投影のメカニズムについて詳しく研究しました。男性があなたを無視するとき、彼は自分の認めたくない側面をあなたに投影している可能性があります。例えば、彼自身が必要とされたい、愛されたいと感じているからこそ、その欲求を否定するためにあなたを遠ざけるのかもしれません。竹は風に曲がるからこそ折れないという東洋の知恵があります。感情的な柔軟性は真の強さの証です。無視するという行動は、この柔軟性の欠如を示しています。彼は感情の風に曲がることを恐れ、代わりに硬直してしまうのです。しかし、長期的には、この硬直性こそが彼を折れやすくするのです。ユングは共時性意味のある偶然の一致について語りました。あなたの人生に無視する男性が現れたことには、より深い意味があるかもしれません。それは単なる不運ではなく、あなた自身の内的成長のための触媒となる可能性があります。この関係を通じて、あなた自身の価値、境界線、そして本当のつながりとは何かについての理解が深まるかもしれないのです。男性の無視は、しばしば、試し行動である。無意識のレベルでは、彼はあなたの反応をテストしているのかもしれません。彼女は私が離れても、まだそこにいてくれるだろうか？彼女は私の価値を証明するために戦ってくれるだろうか？これは不健全なパターンですが、しばしば幼少期の愛着の問題に根ざしています。彼は無意識のうちに、自分が本当に愛される価値があるかを確かめようとしているのです。ここまでの探求から、男性があなたを無視する行動の背後には、 複雑な心理的メカニズムと深い弱さが隠されていることが明らかになりました。では、この理解をどのように生かすことができるでしょうか？まず、自分自身を大切にすることから始めましょう。相手の行動の理由を理解することは重要ですが、それが不健全な関係性を受け入れる理由にはなりません。彼の内側に傷があるからという理解は、あなた自身の境界線を曖昧にする言い訳にはならないのです。自分の価値は他者の反応によって決まるものではない。ユングのこの洞察を心に留めておいてください。彼があなたを無視するという事実は、あなたの価値についての真実を何も語っていません。それは彼自身の内的状態を反映しているだけなのです。日本の空の概念すべての現象は空であり、固定した本質を持たないは、執着から自由になるための深い知恵を提供します。相手の行動や反応への執着を手放すことで、あなたは真の自由を見出すことができるのです。彼が私を無視しているという物語に執着するのではなく、今この瞬間の現実に目を向けましょう。ユングは個性化のプロセスを人生の最も重要な課題と考えました。この状況をあなた自身の個性化の旅の一部として捉えることができます。この経験は私に何を教えようとしているのか？私はこれを通じて自分自身についてどのような真実を学んでいるのかと問いかけてみてください。松の木は嵐の中でも根を深く保つように、あなたも自分の内的な強さと価値に根ざしていることができます。他者の行動に振り回されるのではなく、自分自身の中心に立ち返るのです。瞑想、日記、創造的表現など、自分自身とつながるための実践を取り入れてみてください。コミュニケーションの扉を開いておくことも大切です。しかし、それは相手を変えようとしたり、反応を強制したりすることではありません。むしろ、あなた自身の真実を静かに、しかし明確に表現することです。あなたが無視するとき、私はこう感じると、非難ではなく観察として伝えてみましょう。ユングは、対立物の統合を個性化の重要な要素と考えました。この状況においても、二項対立、彼は悪い人を私は被害者、または、彼には理由がある私は理解すべき、を超えた、より統合された視点を見出すことができます。複雑な人間関係には、常に多層的な真実があるのです。最後に、自分自身への思いやりを忘れないでください。困難な関係性は、深い感情的な痛みをもたらすことがあります。その痛みを否定したり、抑圧したりするのではなく、優しく受け止め、それを通じて成長する機会としましょう。傷は閉じるだけでなく、変容する、というユングの言葉を心に留めておいてください。あなたを無視する男性との関係を通じて、あなたは自分自身の強さ、価値、そして真の親密さとは何かについての理解を深めることができます。それは単なる関係の問題ではなく、あなた自身の個性化の旅の重要な章なのです。この旅があなたをより深い自己理解と、より健全な関係性への道へと導きますように。もしこの動画があなたの心に響いたなら、ぜひコメント欄であなたの経験や気づきをシェアしてください。そして、より深い自己探求の旅を続けるために、チャンネル登録をお願いします。次回は、あなたの影が教えてくれる人生の目的について探求します。あなたの内なる旅が、今日ここから始まるかもしれません。
So now there are two essential factors that this contraption understands the relationship between. The relationship between where I am and where I want to be. Simple, isn't it? So your emotional guidance system works the same way. It gives you vibrational feedback that helps you know the vibrational relationship between where you are and where you want to be. The better you feel, the better that relationship. The worse you feel, the worse that relationship. So if you want more money and you are discouraged that emotion of discouragement is saying to you, your vibrational relationship between where you want to be and where you are is not in a place of improvement. This discouragement is your indication that you've got to find a different way of looking at it. You've got to find a way of affecting this emotion. Your emotions come to you in response to your thoughts. You think a thought, and then you have an emotional response. Your emotions, in and of themselves, do not have power. It's just your guidance system letting you know how you are utilizing your power. The better you feel, the more in alignment you are. Now, there's another piece to this that we really want you to hear. It's new for most of you, and it will answer many questions for those of you who have been playing with this for a while. You are creative genius. We've already told you that. And you are worthy beings. You are God in physical bodies, and we tell you that, we know that, we don't feel you hear it in the way we mean it. You have taught yourselves to be so humble. It's hard for you to accept that you really are leading edge God force, but you are. So as you are here in these physical bodies, and you are exploring contrast, and preferences are born within you, this new preference that is unique to you, that is born in this moment, is this leading edge summoning thing. In other words, do you get how when you ask it is given, and do you understand that you don't have to ask with your words? That the experience just causes you to prefer or want, and that wanting is a vibration that calls unto you. So here you are out here on the leading edge having new experiences, calling source energy unto you. And source is enjoying the expansion as it happens through your unique perspective. Do you get that? Can you feel how important that is? So here's the new part that we really want you to hear. So contrast causes you to emit a rocket of desire. And in the moment that you do, source, all that is, God, whatever you want to call this universal life force, follows the trail of the rocket. So in the moment that your life experience has caused you to prefer something, source energy goes with it. Now, we want that to validate you. We want you to understand the perfection and the uniqueness of your experience. In other words, you are so important and you are so capable and worthy of discerning your... Let's find another way. Even the one-celled amoeba in the ocean is having an experience that causes it to prefer. All of the cells in your body are having experiences that are causing them to prefer. So as these preferences are happening, the universe is expanding, and you are in on it big time. So, source energy rides your rocket. So now, getting back to this subject of vibrational relativity, contrast caused you to prefer something. The preference was born. It shot out of you. Source energy followed it. So now you have, if you're feeling and if you're paying attention, you have this guidance system that is showing you the vibrational relativity between where you are right now and what you think mostly about the subject and what you want, and the perspective that source energy now has that it received from your experience of expansion. When Jerry and Esther program Magellan to a new destination, and then they take their own personal side trip, Magellan says, please return to the highlighted route. Please return to the highlighted route. If they deviate far, she will say, when possible, make a legal U-turn. Because it's a woman's voice, the man's voice was too bossy. She understands the vibrational relationship between where they said they want to go and where they seem to be going. She can tell that they're off their path. And your guidance system is the same way. When you say, whether you use words or not, when your experience causes you to desire more money and you're complaining about not having enough money, that discouragement that you feel is your personal Magellan saying, please return to the highlighted route. Please return to the highlighted route. Please try to find a way of looking at this that feels a little better than the way that you have found to look at it, because the way you have found to look at it has got you going in the wrong direction. The way you found to look at it has caused you to activate a vibration that is preventing you from receiving the very thing you're you're asking for. That's what negative emotion always means. You can't get to where you want to be and feel bad at the same time. Your guidance is telling you you're off your track. Now, there are so many physical humans who believe that it is through their action that they make things happen. But you cannot buck the current of your own vibration. Don't you know, people, or even yourself, sometimes when you're beating this drum about something and it's just the way you feel, and no matter how hard you try, no matter how much effort or energy or even money you put into something, you just can't buck your own current because the universe is not responding to your activity, to your action. The universe is responding to your vibration. Jerry and Esther bought this magnificent new monster bus. And they've had 2 wonderful coaches before this one. And when they picked it up, it was perfect in nearly every way. But one day when they went to leave, they couldn't get out. The door was jammed. And they called, they were still at the plant where it was manufactured, and they called, and a nice man came. He couldn't make it open either. So they opened the emergency window, and he got a ladder, and he climbed in. And then from inside, he disassembled the door and monkeyed around with it, literally. A monkey could have done it because he had no idea what he was doing. He just fiddled and jiggled and fiddled and jiggled until something broke loose and they were able to get out. And then he said, whatever you did that caused that, don't ever do it again. And Jerry and Esther said, we have no idea what we did that caused that. And he said, well, we do not know what caused it either. It's the first time that this has happened to us, and so don't do it again. And Esther said, what happens if it happens when we are on the outside? We know what to do now when we're on the inside. We can take the door apart and fiddle and wiggle and fiddle and wiggle and fiddle and wiggle. But what happens if we are outside? And he said, well, then you've got a big problem. And so several people looked at it. No one could figure out what the problem was about it. And Jerry and Esther knew, though. They knew that the first coach they had, the door never lined up right. And so they bought another one because the door never lined up right. And then the second coach, the door never lined up right. It was hard to close. It was hard to open. It rattled when they drove. So no problem. We'll just buy the most expensive contraption that's ever been made on the face of the earth, and we'll leave behind our old rattling, not good fitting doors. Well, that may work if you could go somewhere into the future without taking yourself with you. But when you take the vibration of your being with you, in other words, they did expect the door to be better, and it is better. It just locks them in and locks them out. Has electronic contraptions that they do not dare use. There's a mechanism that makes the deadbolt lock, and there's a that goes this way inside, and there's a mechanism that causes the door to open that goes this way, and somehow those two are colliding and jamming. And so Jerry and Esther promised one another that they would not use the electronic contraptions. They took them off, hid them far away, and they used the big old key to lock the door because it feels safe. And the man at the plant who gave them the orientation was appalled that they could spend this much money on a motor coach and have a defect that is that significant. And Esther said, it's not your fault. The universe always gives us what's active in our vibration. He thinks she's crazy. But Esther was letting them off the hook. She said, we've had problems with all of the doors in all of our coaches, and that's why we're having problems with this door. He didn't get it, but Esther gets it. In other words, she knows that you cannot cover your vibration with action. You have to offer a vibration that matches what you want. So, the way we like to explain this to you is you have two journeys that are moving along here together. One is your action journey, and your action journey is what's culminated so far. In other words, that's what is. That's where you're at right now. That's the result of what you've been thinking. It's the result of what you've activated. It's your point of attraction in its manifested form. And then, running concurrently with this action journey is an emotional journey. And the emotional journey is how I feel about the things I give my attention to. We were talking with a woman not long ago who has arthritis in her hips, and she was complaining, not strong, but looking for resolution. She said, how can I not notice that my hips hurt all the time? Sitting, standing, walking, lying in bed, my hips hurt. How can I not notice that they hurt and therefore create more of the same? And we said, you have to find a way of separating the action journey, or what is, from the way you're thinking and feeling about it. We said, can you feel the difference between having arthritis in your hips and feeling fear, and having arthritis in your hips and feeling hope? Because the vibrational difference between fear and hope is tremendous, you see. And if you can feel hopeful while you have arthritis in your hips, just for a little while, the arthritis in your hips must start to dissipate, because the vibration of hopeful and the vibration of believing is such that the sickness or disease of arthritis cannot exist in the same space. Can you hear that? Diseases, as they exist, have vibrational relevance. In other words, different diseases have different vibrational characteristics. And without meaning to, you go to work, you've got some ornery person you work with, they just drive you nuts for years, and you train yourself into a vibration that causes all kinds of things to occur in your experience, because you are activating a vibration. And then you say, if you're like most people, that person needs to be different. Because if that person were not the way they are, I would have a different response to them. And if I had a different response to them, I'd feel better and my body wouldn't be sick. And we say, but if you need that person to do something different, you're in a world of trouble, because that person is not really all that interested in making your world perfect. That person is interested in doing whatever they can for their own world. Everyone is selfishly wired. You only have the perspective of self, you see. You cannot see through anyone else's eyes. So when you say, I need that condition to change before I can feel better, it is true entrapment for yourself. Because even if you could be strong enough or coercive enough or dominant enough that you could force someone or influence someone to a different offering of conditions, there will be another and another and another and another and another. You cannot control the way you feel by attempting to control the circumstances that surround you. It'll make you crazy. It's far too big. It's not possible for you to do it, and it's not your right anyway. In other words, everyone has the freedom to create in their own experience. You've got to let them create in their own experience. You've just got to find a way to feel different about what you see them creating. That's what the art of allowing is. Allowing your connection to source no matter what you're seeing around you. At first this is troubling to people, because they will say, hey, Abraham, you mean I should just be a doormat and just lay down and let people walk all over me, let them have their way? And we say, no, far from that. You're going to train yourself into a different vibrational response. And when you train yourself into a different vibrational response, your vibrational output will be different. Your point of attraction will be different. And those people will not be able to find their way into your experience. You say, what about family? What about those that I go see? We say, well, that's up to you. In other words, you can take yourself and through your action walk into all kinds of situations. But when you become aware of your point of attraction and you care about the way you feel, so you're tending to your point of attraction, your world is just going to get better and better and better and better and better. When you beat the drum of things you appreciate, when you make lists of positive aspects, when you look at someone who has 10 characteristics and 8 of them are obnoxious and 2 of them are pretty nice, and you focus upon the 2 that you adore and you activate within yourself that part of them, that's the part of them that law of attraction is going to line up with you. The other parts that aren't active in your vibration cannot come to you. Anything that's coming to you is active in your vibration. If it's happening to you, it's active in your vibration. Remember that when a problem is coming into focus, a solution is too. So that literally means that sickness brings wellness. But sickness, that you continue to look at sickness, brings more wellness goes into the vortex. But you look at the sickness, so it gets more sickness, more wellness goes into the vortex. But you're looking at the sickness, so you get more sickness. So we haven't said this with this clarity before, but you've set it up for the perfect way of explaining it, that a lot of people are saying, they often don't mean it really fully, that they're not sorry that such and such happened because of the good that came from it. And we just want to emphatically say that good always comes from it, but the question isn't whether good comes from it. The question is, how quickly am I going to start tuning myself to the frequency of the good that came out of it, instead of staying focused on more of the current reality. We know that we're annoying the way we keep cutting you off, but the difficulty is simpler than you know. You keep talking about it. You keep talking about the problem that we just said to you, and don't be upset about this, because Jerry and Esther aren't getting it yet over the breakfast either. And we know that the reality is compelling, and it seems like that's where the tests are, that's where the doctors are, that's where your physical reality is. We get it, but you have to play that down, play that down, play that down. So if we, who know very well what you've put into your vortex, if we allow you, if we encourage you at all to continue the conversation the way it's going, we don't serve you at all. We have to say to you, stop talking about that. Stop talking about that and talk about this. You see. Now's a good time to start. It's not as interesting yet, and you're not as practiced, and there's a lot more details and a lot more trauma around all of that, but really, well, every subject is two subjects. So it's a matter of gradually, through practicing the end of it that feels better. And do you believe us at all? Do you believe that when you're experiencing sickness that you're asking for wellness and that the wellness is queued up? Yes. So what's hard to talk about that? In other words, we don't get why it's hard. When you could as easily talk about wellness as sickness, why not talk about wellness? You did a little bit. You said, I can accept that some good has come out of it, but do you really believe it? Do you really do you believe it? Do you believe here's a good way of putting it. Do you ever hear someone say, "Oh, I've been well for so long and there are a lot of sick people, so I think I'm going to be sick for a while to allow sick people to be weller"? You don't ever say that, do you? Because you don't think that there's this pile of wellness that you've been pigging out on and depriving others. And so that's one way of looking at this. And we want to convince you that, do you believe that you are a vibrational being? Mm-hmm. And do you believe that as a vibrational being that you can focus on wanted or unwanted? Yes. So what is this insatiable appetite, and it's not just yours, almost all humans have it, of wanting to explain what is? What is the big deal about what is? What's the big deal about what is? Is it, you know what it really is? I'm running around with a whole lot of other humans who've forgotten who they are, that don't remember about the vortex, who have trained themselves away from caring about how they feel, and we are, for the most part, just a big human complaining pity party. Those are the books that sell. You want to get a best-selling book, then dig yourself into a really deep hole and then crawl out, and they'll clap when you crawl out. We're just trying to get your attention a little bit here. We want to convince you that you don't have to tell the story about reality. You can tell the story about vibrational reality. But when you say it's hard, I can't do it, I don't know how to do it, that only means that's because you've practiced the reality story more than the vibrational reality story. Do you know anybody? Have you ever, and we won't tell, have you ever told a fib for so long that you forgot it was a fib? Do you know people who lie really easily? That's what we want from you. We want you to take a departure from reality and train yourself into the improved reality, into the wanted reality. We want you to train yourself. But so many of you have believed that you've got to tell it like it is. And so someone says, "How are you?" And you don't feel that good. And you feel like you should tell them, "Well, I really don't feel that good." And they didn't really care. They didn't really mean, "How are you?" They meant, "Hi." So just practice as best you can. And so the answer to your question is, how can you practice the better feeling when the reality isn't there yet? And we say, catch yourself at the best moments that you can find and emphasize that to yourself. And do it over and over again. Just find the best feeling moment that you can find and practice it from then. And it is our promise to you. It will get better and better and better and better and better. Well, it isn't a matter of something outside of you assigning what you're supposed to be doing. When you find yourself in a sort of trend where you're really feeling blissful, what that means every single time is that all this stuff that you've been throwing into your vortex, you're in the vortex or on the verge of it, and so you're feeling the inspiration. But the vortex keeps expanding and evolving too, so you have to keep it current. That's why we want you to make it this emotional quest rather than a manifestational quest, because if you make it an emotional quest, if you care about how you feel, then you just keep feeling good as new ideas keep coming. But we will say this, you bring up a really good point, and you're really going to like this. This is an important piece to all of this, and we think it's the piece that you're looking for here. So this vortex, are you believing it? This vibrational reality. So if you are in despair or focused upon pain or sickness, you're far from the vortex, and inspiration is not something that's coming to you. The best you can do is motivate yourself by making yourself do stuff, but you're not being swept into the vortex, not regularly. If you're hanging around in an attitude of hopefulness, then you're on the brink of the vortex enough that it's taking you in and making a believer out of you. If you can hang around in hope, the vortex will take you in often enough that you will become a believer. And before you know it, you will just know. There will be no vibrational difference in what you want and what you expect. Expect is a really important word. So, if you're hanging around in hopefulness, and the vortex takes you in, you're going to have an impulse. That's that feeling of inspiration. You know how when you'll think, oh, I want to call so-and-so. That's inspiration. And here's the thing, and your words really triggered this very specific answer. When you feel that, that's the time to make the call. When you have that feeling, act on it in that moment. If you act on your inspiration, when it comes, what'll happen is, that's how you become a believer, because if you get that feeling of that impulse to do it and you follow through on it and it pays off for you, before you know it, you start to understand the power of your inspiration. Esther laughs because her inspiration, they drive so much, and Esther is usually driving, and so her inspiration comes while she's driving, and it's just not the same to record it into the recorder and then later when they get to the hotel room transcribe it from the recorder and then enter it into her computerized enormous things to do someday list. In other words, that's not the way to respond to inspiration, because the window opens and closes and opens and closes and opens and closes, and when you respond in the moment of the impulse, you're going to get big results. If you can keep yourself loose enough. And so the way we would play that is we would take advantage of the moments that we have in terms of action. We would say to ourselves, I'm going to stay on top of my need to do's. I'm going to stay so on top of my need to do's. I need to go to work. I need to feed my kids. I need whatever. I'm going to stay on top of my needs to do, and I'll just use my willpower for that for a while. It's been working out pretty good anyway. I've been using my willpower for that. I'll motivate myself on my need to do's so that I have some open space for my inspired to do's. And what happens is that the more organized you are on your need to do's, then the more hopeful you'll be and be on the brink where you'll be inspired. And then when you follow through with those inspirations, before long it will shift. The fulcrum will tip for you, because you'll begin to feel the enormous, we cannot even find a word big enough or emphatic enough, you will find the enormous power of the leverage of the vortex. he teased Esther a few years ago. She was making airplane reservations, and she kept saying, I know, it's on my list, I'll get to it. And he kept saying, did you make the reservations? She would make several at a time. No, I'll do it. Did you make the reservations? No. Then he tried to motivate her. You know, the longer you wait, the fewer seats there are. The longer you wait, the more we pay for the tickets. I know, I'll do it. But she just could not make herself do it. She just couldn't make herself do it. Then forgot about it. Jerry quit harping about it for a minute, and Esther found herself in the vortex relative to some other thing and felt the impulse, the inspiration to make the airline reservations. She went to the telephone, got the one-pass line, a very helpful person, and the person said to her over and over and over again, they were using miles to upgrade to first class and miles to upgrade to first class. The woman would say, I swear, 2 minutes ago, these seats weren't here. I swear, 2 minutes ago, these seats were not there. I swear, 2 minutes ago, these seats were not there. Esther booked 10 flights and got upgraded to first. And when they flew those flights, every flight flew. There were no delays. There was no lost luggage. There were no canceled flights. There was no extra waiting at the connection. In other words, they were inspired flights. So when you get that feeling, act on it. And until you get that feeling, just do what you have to do. So we're making a case, aren't we, for understanding the vortex and what would you say our message is to you today? It's simple. Get in the vortex somehow, some way. Now, what are we saying even more emphatically? You're in the vortex every single day, no exceptions. You're in there. You're in there. You might not be aware that you're in there, but we want you to start paying attention. We want you to notice that extra lift that you feel. We want you to notice that good feeling that you have. We want you to be aware that you're in the vortex, and then we want you to milk it with everything you've got, to practice the feeling, to practice the vibration, to make it a chronic patterned vibration within you, so that you're hanging around on the verge of or in the vortex so much more of the time. And as you begin to do that, you're going to discover what the true real-time life is, because the universe is now queuing you up with others who are in the vortex. So you're meeting up with those who are ready for you. They're on your wavelength. They are already, law of attraction has sorted them out as a vibrational match to who you are and what you want. Life doesn't just become easier. It becomes blissful, because you feel the power of who you are. And you know, that's what bothers you more than all other things put together about things not turning out right. You know you are a powerful creator, and when you are not exercising your power, something is really, 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 really off, you see. And then that's what really makes you mad. That's what most of your negative emotion is about. It's that you're not keeping up with who you are. That's the only thing that negative emotion is. Negative emotion is one thing and one thing only. It's your indicator that you're not, in the moment of the negative emotion, keeping up with who you are. And the larger part of you is calling you, making it easy. Now what? We have enjoyed this interaction more than words can convey. You are really good at what you do. You are really good at what you do. Just have more fun in the doing of it. Don't make big changes in what's going on in your life experience. Just decide to tweak it just a little bit into more fun. And watch the leverage of the energy that creates worlds flow to your fingertips, you see. It's really your time, friends. You know what to do, so be playful in doing it. There is great love here for you. And as always, we remain in the vortex.